All right, welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches podcast where we talk about everything going on in sports. And we have a lot of stuff up in the air now with football. We have some answers from football, and then we have some a lot of NBA stuff and just basketball stuff in general going on. So when we woke up Saturday morning, because they dropped the news at 4 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, the Niners have their brand new DC, who's the guy that was been on the staff for a couple years. And then we have this other hire who has one of the worst coaching seasons this last year ever. And now these are our two new defensive guys. The guy that gave up 750,000 points to the Raiders is now a assistant head coach. They don't really have a role defined for him. And then we just moved a guy up from our DC thing. So part of the issue is when you're really, really good and you go really, really far, a lot of people are gone by the time you're doing the coaching search. So it sucks because it's my team, but I get it because you want parity and you want different teams in there every year, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But so we were kind of talking last week with the Raiders, who the Raiders fans would want for our DC, and though the names weren't necessarily said, I'm thinking that it's probably you're not sad about our coaching hires. So Brother James, I'm going to start with you. Thoughts on the Niners' new DC coach and situation?
Well, y'all defense is a little soft in there, like we said earlier. And I forgot the guy. What's the guy's name again?
Sorensen.
Yeah.
Sorensen. Okay. I think y'all could have did a lot better. But it is like you said, you waited late and this and that. But, I don't think anything was really terrible wrong with your defense. I just think the fact of the matter is you guys get that they got tired and got out of shape. But I'm not for the new coach for you guys. So I'm not gonna hate on y'all like y'all hate on the Raiders and wish bad on us. Okay, so I mean I think y'all could have did a lot better with that decision.
If you was there somebody out there that you thought we were gonna grab?
I didn't really have anybody off mind to say, okay, well, the Niners should pick this guy. It's some guys that was out there. I think I forgot the team. It was the East Coast team that was kind of available, and you guys didn't want him. I don't believe.
Yeah, I know. So some people, some of the sports guys I listen to think that what we were trying to do is we were trying to get the Jets defensive coordinator.
That's who I'm talking about. Yeah.
But because I don't know if we weren't going to elevate his position or something, and because of that, the NFL does not allow you to hire position for position. And I'm sure Saleh is like, I'm trying to hang on to this job as much as I can, so I'm sure he's not letting him go. But then also it's like, Saleh is probably going to be available next offseason, so if we just need like a stopgap for one season, that's not terrible. Deacon Hill, what are your thoughts on Nick Sorensen?
Well, I think you guys were just grasping for straws when you picked him. But I wasn't too far off. I said you guys can get Pete Carroll, and you guys got his disciple. I heard he spent time in Seattle and worked with them. So you guys, there you go. You want that Legion of Boom, Doom, or whatever you want, guys. You guys come up with the new name you will come up with next year. But they always say when you fire a coach, you got to have your sights set on who you want, and you want to upgrade on that. So you saying that you guys waited so late in the season? Well, you guys fired your coach late in the season, so you should have had your ducks in a row to go after whoever you wanted. And the guy you're talking about from the Jets, you can't go just to the same position as another coach, but you guys could have gave him that title as assistant head coach and probably could have got him from there. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But my whole thing is that you got to have your sights set on the guy. And when I'm reading up on this Sorensen guy, he's been with a assistant and this and that. I never really had any coordinating positions or something. So to me, I don't know where the upgrade is going to be. But they did say you guys wanted consistency. You know, he's been around, so you'll keep the consistency, you know, and with your defense and continuity. So I guess that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and the only thing I can think of is like why Staley's coming in. So Sorensen's kind of a disciple of Pete, and Staley's kind of a disciple of Fangio. And Staley's has head coaching experience. Granted, he sucks at head coaching, but he has head coaching experience. There's got to be, I mean, there's got to be something with Staley because McVay's not a dummy, and McVay hired him. And Kyle, I don't think Kyle's a dummy, and Kyle's hiring him. And there's no way that Kyle hires him without Joey Bosa talking to Nick and then kind of saying like what he's like and talking to McVay. Like there's got to be interaction. I just don't get it.
Maybe they're gonna combine both of their heads into one.
I hope it's enough of both to put together and make a one whole one. Brother Bill, what are your thoughts on our DC and extra hire?
Yeah, so promoting Nick Sorensen, who was a defensive, pass game, specialist, to defensive coordinator makes sense if they want to try to shore up the secondary. Because this past season, where the defense was vulnerable in the secondary is if you couldn't get consistent pressure on the quarterback. And the 49ers tended to play zone on third down, which is the money down on defense to get off the field. And so if that was part of the thinking, then that rationale makes sense. Although I am concerned, I'm hoping that the defensive line coach and the linebacker coach stay intact because, and I always say this about, you run the ball, you stop the run. How do you stop the run? You stop the run with your front four. So if the Niners, where they got exploited in the middle, if that gets shored up, then no issue with Sorensen as the defensive coordinator. I have absolutely no clue, no explanation why they brought in Brandon Staley as an assistant coach. I'd be curious to know what role he's going to be. I mean, what is he going to do? What's his function going to be? If it has anything to do with the defense, nope, I can't co-sign on that. Because you say he has experience in the NFL, but his experience with San Diego was almost all bad. So to me, bad experience is worse than no experience because you know what they are. You've seen, that's his resume. So I'm curious to see what they do with him as assistant coach.
Yeah, I was a little concerned. I mean, I felt like our secondary, yeah, exactly. The issues with the secondary had more to do with our line than the actual secondary. Like I thought the secondary as the season went on was playing as well as it can if the line's not getting to the quarterback. My thing is like, who's going to make the changes on the line so the line's more effective like we've been in the previous years? And is Staley a line specialist? I mean, the dude has, aside from being a head coach, he barely has like any experience doing anything. And he jumped up and had that one good season with the Rams who have good players on defense and then jumps to head coach. My concern with Staley is I feel like and watching his press conferences, he's just a politician. So he can go in and probably have a great interview and he does like the political thing. Oh, we're all friends, when he does a press conference. And I'm just worried we got hoodwinked. That's what I'm worried. Because I didn't see you give up 72 points or whatever they give it to the Raiders. You shouldn't even be able to look at a football field for the rest of your life.
Well, I mean, and to me, I put that on they always say, whoever the hiring manager is in the industry, whoever the interview team is. I mean, again, you look at his resume, they always say, don't focus on what people say, focus on what they do or what they did. Right? What did he do with San Diego?
Nothing.
I just don't see it.
Nothing. Got fired. Bad. All right. So staying in the AFC. Well, I guess kind of because Staley came from the AFC West. Russ is gone. Broncos are going to eat a whole lot of money. They lost a ton of draft picks. I still don't think it's a worse trade than the Browns trade, because I think Deshaun Watson, in order to like handle that fully guaranteed contract, he's going to end up with like a 16-year contract with the Browns. So that's going to go on forever and ever and ever. the Broncos just kind of have to eat it this season and next season money wise, and the draft picks and stuff. But it's not. I still think the Deshaun Watson one is the worst one. But Russ is gone. It sounds like he's willing to play for the league minimum because he's going to get paid regardless because he's under contract. So either his new team pays him money or his old team pays the difference. So he can play for super cheap, which means he can kind of pick whatever team he wants to go to. My thing is if I'm the Raiders, I'm like, we need to get this dude because it sounds like Kirk Cousins is going to Atlanta. The Bears are going to be drafting. You have all the other teams that are high in the draft pick are going to be getting quarterbacks. The Raiders are in a position where they could move up and pick up somebody, but for the next couple years, on the Broncos' dime, I don't know why you wouldn't go get Russ. Deacon Hill, what are your thoughts on Russ coming to the Raiders, or where do you think he'll end up?
Well, I don't think he's coming to the Raiders. Just from listening to our head coach and the GM, they said they're not looking for a stopgap or a Band-Aid at that position. They're going to really go for it, and they got their eyes set. There's a couple of good quarterbacks coming out. I see at least 4 or 5, but they really looking at the Jaden Daniels from LSU. That's who they got their sights set on. Who knows if he can get him? Like I say, they're going to have to give up some draft picks and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to give up any of their star players, but I think they will be able to, would be willing to give up first-round draft picks in this draft, next year's first round and stuff like that to move up to get their guy. But they said that they're not looking for a Band-Aid at that position. And, our rookie, he didn't do so bad. I was comparing the stats with Russell Wilson and him this year. They're not. Russell had a great year as far as he had 26 touchdowns and something like 8 interceptions. That was a good stat right there. But other than that, all the other stuff was pretty much similar. So you could stay with your rookie and go that way. But I think they're shooting for a quarterback in this draft. I don't think they don't want a stopgap Band-Aid. And I see him more or less going to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will be a good spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. Brother James, thoughts on potentially Russell Wilson coming to the Raiders? Your thoughts on the Raiders QB situation in general, and then if not the Raiders, where do you think Russ ends up?
Okay, I've got the mute. So I don't think he's coming. I agree with Deacon Hill. I don't think he's coming to the Raiders. He's a mobile quarterback, so that would be a plus. But I do believe that the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to stick with that rookie for a little bit. I think they're going to get if they can't. I don't think they're going to use a lot of picks to try to move up. If something falls into their lap, they may trade here and there. But they're aggressive. The new Raiders ownership and leadership is aggressive. So they're like, okay, well, we were going to rebuild it. It's not. I'm not saying that we're in a rebuilding year because we don't need to rebuild. We just need key positions. But I don't think they're going to give up any good picks to do that. Like that, like it's been proven. Y'all's quarterback, it was simply last pick of the draft. Okay, so I think there's a quarterback out there that can be gotten without robbing your bank, spending all your load for one person.
Yeah, I totally.
As far as Russell,
sorry.
And so far as where I think Russell Wilson will go, Dak ain't looking too good either. So he might go to Dallas.
Dak's about to get paid $60 million a year. I cannot wait for that contract to get signed.
This is a joke. Yeah.
I can't wait for that to get signed. That's gonna be that's the best $60 million. It's gonna be so good. So just Raiders guys, did you guys see enough out of your quarterback last year that you would be comfortable and think that you guys could be successful with him at quarterback this next season?
I didn't see a lot out of him while I'm in just total comfort. I did see improvement every game with him. And so with that, if he buckles down and he did some training in the worked on the off season, I think he can be okay to the point to where yes, we will be successful with him. You have the best receiver in the league, so why wouldn't you be?
It depends on your definition of success. Getting to the playoffs or something like that. If that's your definition, I'm talking about trying to go for it. One thing, his passing is pretty good and it kept improving. His accuracy is pretty good. But one thing you can't teach is mobility, and he does not have that. And in this league, the defense is just too fast. They come at you, and you got to be able to move. And I don't see that. So, and I think he'll be a great backup, but I don't think he'll ever be the quarterback that'll take you all the way. So, and that's what I'm always looking for.
Okay. Brother Bill, thoughts on Russell Wilson potentially being with the Raiders, going someplace else, and then the Raiders QB situation in general?
Yeah, I don't see him going with the Raiders, although I think it might not be a good it could work out because the Raiders, if they stay committed to the run, they have an offense that can do some things, especially with Adams, there as their star receiver. The team we haven't talked about is the Minnesota Vikings, and here's why: if Kirk Cousins does leave Minnesota and go to Atlanta, then being able to get Russell Wilson with all-world receiver Justin Jefferson to throw to, and their head coach Kevin O'Connell, he's a quarterback-friendly coach. I could see that working out in a division where it'll be interesting to see whether or not the Detroit Lions have the same success this year and this upcoming season as they did last season. The way I always look at it is if number one goal of any team should be not try to win the Super Bowl. Ultimately, yes, but the first thing you got to do is win your division, and the NFC North division is, I believe, up for grabs. And I think it's a 3-horse race between Detroit, Green Bay, although they're young, but we saw what they can do. And hate to say Chicago Bears just aren't there yet, so I throw Minnesota in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Minnesota, especially if the price tag is right, and we'll just have to see what happens.
So do you see the race? Because everybody's talking Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh makes sense to me. Minnesota makes a ton of sense if Cousins goes to Atlanta. Do you think it's just those two, or do you think there's another team in there that you think could squeeze in?
Well, coming out of the combine, the sense was that the Steelers were willing to give Kenny Pickett another go at it this season.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess everybody says the positive thing until this person gets cut and this person's gone and that person's over here. So that makes sense. But I guess a new offensive coordinator, if you're one of those franchises like Pittsburgh where you're almost loyal to a fault, you're going to give them another chance because you have a new offensive coordinator. This is going to be the one that makes the difference. This is one that's going to put them over the top. Yeah. All right. And so shifting to basketball and women's college basketball, WNBA. Caitlin Clark is a superstar, and she's kind of taken off since March Madness last year. Her and Angel Reese had that just super competitive, just awesome back and forth, and everybody's talking about like the women's college basketball and less so than even the men's. She's broken the record for the all-time scoring leader in college basketball, men and women. She's going pro. Is she going to translate is this popularity where all her games are selling out? She's doing autographs. She is a superstar right now. Is that going to translate, and is that going to help take the WNBA to another level? Or is this a college basketball kind of bubble thing and it's not going to transfer? Brother Bill, I'm going to start with you.
So I would say first question is the popularity going to transfer? Sure, it can transfer only because, unlike anything, if you see a story often enough, you see a person often enough, then you'll be curious, even if you're the casual fan, about what's this all about. So there's popularity and there's success. She's coming out of a school in Iowa, Midwest, right? Going to the WNBA, which is very regional, right? I mean, there are only certain regions where the teams even get any notable coverage. So the key is going to be which team does she go to? If it's a big market team, then that will bode well. But if it's a small mid-market team, it's going to be tough. I mean, just numbers.
I think it's projected to be Indiana.
Okay. When's the last time we heard anything out of? I don't even know what that team is. When's the last time?
The Fever.
Right. So that answers that question. So she might be popular in Indiana and Midwest, but outside of that, at other markets, don't know. Or does that even matter? The other question is to answer, I think, something else you said before the podcast started, with both her and Angel Reese going into the WNBA. Could this be a repeat of, when Bird coming from Indiana State and Magic coming from Michigan State? Yeah, both went, right. Considering they just played, in the championship the year before. The question, I think, is going to be whether or not Caitlin Clark's popularity, to answer your question, boosts, the popularity of the WNBA as a whole. And we always say this, going from college to a professional team where the caliber of the competition it should be greater, right? Is she going to get these wide open 3 looks in WNBA that she was getting in college? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, go ahead.
I'd say, Brother James, Caitlin Clark going to the WNBA, is this going to help the WNBA become, I mean, granted, I swear to God, didn't know Indiana had a women's basketball team until they said Caitlin Clark's going to the WNBA. So, I mean, not that I pay attention all the time, but that's an issue. Granted, I'm more of a casual basketball fan, but Brother James, do you think that Caitlin Clark going pro and let's just say she's successful because she's been really successful up to this point, is that going to help catapult the WNBA?
I don't think one individual is going to be able to catapult the WNBA. My issue is I think in some way it needs to be intertwined with the NBA. They started trying to do that with the All-Star game, with Curry in it. I think that's the answer to catapulting them is maybe having a certain part of season, that intertwines with the NBA, or the NBA players do something with the WNBA. But I, as far as her competition wise, I mean, just like anybody else, when you realize this, you was great in college, but you got to realize now you're going to a place where everybody else is great in college as well. And so, do you have the oomph, to have success like you did in college? You look at like Magic Johnson when he first came to the Lakers, he struggled. He struggled a little bit, during the first couple games. Then something clicked. So if she's that type of player and that type of competitor, then it'll click for her. So that's my opinion.
All right, Deacon Hill, Caitlin Clark going pro.
Yeah, well, I agree with Brother Bill and James on that. The competition is going to be a whole different level. So that's one aspect of it. Now I was looking at they projecting her as a fantasy player. The definition for her as being successful is if she could finish in the top 10 in the fantasy categories, that would be considered a success. Then they talk about, far as her endurance, she's playing a full college season right now, and then she's got to go into the NBA. Is she going to be able to sustain that energy level and compete on that level? Again, just the fact you saying that she's going to be popular, everybody's going to be right off the bat. She will be, because of the curiosity factor. Then it depends on how she actually adapts and what she achieves as a player. And again, the women's sport is getting more notoriety and popular, but it still has a ways to go. Just like you said, they don't even have franchises, in a lot of markets right now. So it has a ways to go. But it's good that she's coming in, and everybody, the curiosity is going to be there. Is it, how long she sustains that, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm thinking if she comes in and she drops a few of those, like Damian Lillard, Steph, almost at at the logo kind of 3-pointers, she'll be popular because I mean if you're making the highlight reel for Sports Center, it's gonna and you're always in the top 5 because you drop these bombs from way far out. It's that'll definitely help. I mean, it's cool to see, and I definitely think that whole thing with Steph, that whole 3-point competition with at the All-Star break weekend, I think they're going to expand that a lot, and I think that's going to really get the WNBA shooters definitely in the mix with NBA for sure. So we just have a few minutes left. Sticking with basketball, going to LA. LeBron just passed 40,000 points. LeBron keeps passing just all these records, and I was saying before we started the show that nobody cares, and obviously people care, but they don't care to the level that he's breaking stupid records, and he has it's like stupid numbers. Like the dude is like, we're talking about aliens and stuff. The government's got aliens. We have an alien playing basketball in LA right now. Like we were talking about his trajectory for points. It stays steady the dude's a absolute animal. And it doesn't seem that people care enough. Brother James, you had a great point about why. So I'm going to start with you. If you could share why people don't care as much as they should about LeBron's achievements.
Well, he's great. That he is so good, and he's been so like you said, that trajectory. He's been so consistent. People look at him, and that's what their expectation is. We don't expect him not to be successful. We expect him to do all those things. And because of the deal of this, he's proven throughout his career that he can. And so, I mean, we all excited about it. Don't get it wrong. It's just a deal of that's just our expectation.
Brother Bill, thoughts on LeBron's numbers and continued? I mean, and he's old. Thoughts on LeBron?
Yeah. No denying. I mean, they say the numbers don't lie. Consistency, no doubt. Greatest of his generation, valid argument. Greatest of all time, no. I mean, I don't think any player on a team sport is going to be the greatest of all time because I mean, and I'm saying this as a 49ers fan, Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time. He's got the most records of any wide receiver, no doubt. But sports is generational, and it's always going to be, to me, a water cooler argument, right? Could LeBron do what he's doing if he was playing in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever? I mean, again, that's always going to be a debate, right? What I think is interesting, though, is James' point is, you expect LeBron to be successful because of his track record. But right now, the bigger question is, what does that mean for the Lakers as a team? Because they're right now sitting in the 9th seed with about 20 games left. And if they can make a serious run through the West and get to the finals, and he's playing well, then, I mean, if he can do for the Lakers what Steph Curry did with the Warriors when they knocked off the Celtics, who were easily arguably the better team in the final 3 years ago, then you're saying something about adding something to LeBron's legacy.
So you think if the season ends kind of on a flop, it takes away from his accomplishments, the records that he set this year?
I mean, I don't think it takes away from, but to me, the records just become statistics. It's like, so what? The Lakers still got bounced in whatever round of the playoffs they get bounced.
It's like it's like when, well, it still hurts, but it's like when the Warriors won 73 and then lose. It's like the 73 doesn't mean the same as it would have if they had gotten the ring.
Yeah. Good analogy. Yep.
Not one that I wanted to bring up, but it is.
No, it's all right.
Y'all, this is my issue with y'all, with y'all Niner fans.
What? And Warriors.
And Warrior fans. Because see, y'all all gravy when y'all are doing good. And I'm not saying all of y'all. It's probably like 60-40. 60 of y'all, 60% of y'all are bandwagon. And then you got 40 true fans. Okay. But what I'm getting at is, we always talking about the Raiders and the Lakers, right? What about Curry yesterday? Scored 2 points. When in his career has he scored 2 points?
I missed that one. What was that?
Who did they play? They played a
played
Boston Celtics team. Right. So at some point, what do they always say?
And he scored 2 points?
And they lost by 50?
Wait. But isn't there the saying sometimes you gotta sometimes you have to tip your hat to the other team? I mean, 50-point drubbing, I didn't see that happening.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about 2 points. The deal of it is I'm not hating on Curry because that's my dude. The deal of it is when you've been carrying a team on your shoulder for so long, and then your shoulders eventually break, and I think that's what's happening.
We'll see what he does. We'll see what he does tomorrow. Okay, look at the stats tomorrow night when they play. I think they got Minnesota coming. I can't remember who they got coming here, but it's a good team. Yeah, he's not going to score. He's not going to score 2 points in their next game.
He's going. No, he's not. He won't do that. I'm just surprised that happened.
Can I chime in on LeBron?
That whole game. I'm surprised that whole game happened. I look at the score. I'm driving up to the city for a job on Sunday afternoon. I look at the score. I went, what?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at the loss. I was surprised that the Warriors even admitted that they were willing to sag off of Jaylen Brown, who to me is.
Hey, what happened to LeBron? They just about LeBron. Forget you guys, okay?
Yeah, I'm just answering with James' question. You know. I mean, he brought it up, so I'm just responding. That's all I'm doing, my brother.
Hey, we have 90 seconds left.
90 seconds, Bill. You ate up everything. All right. No, LeBron. One of the reasons he's not getting a lot of notoriety and stuff like that is because they come on a loss. He when he broke the 40,000 point mark, they lost the game. If they'd have won, it'd have been more coverage and they'd had a bigger celebration about that. And far as his trajectory and comparing him to Michael Jordan, there's two ways to look at that. You have to look at players. First of all, I don't know what Bill is talking about. There's no such thing as a GOAT. So in his analogy, there's nobody that's a great player or whatever. I don't know where we forget about Bill in that one. But you have to look at players in their prime, in the peak, and what's their ceiling at their peak. So if you want to compare, like right now, LeBron is still going, but he's not at he's not at his peak. He's past his prime of his peak. So you look at Jordan and when he was at his peak, and LeBron, and whose ceiling was higher at that time, I would give a little bit of an edge to MJ because of the championships. But they're both great players. But Bill, there's a such thing as a GOAT, Bill. Okay, look it up.
It's just to have conversations and sell papers.
This is gonna cut off. This is gonna cut off. This is good. Maybe we bring this up next week, but this is totally gonna cut off. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right.